Imam Hussein's concept of freedom was a different form of freedom. Imam Hussain tells us that animals have these three basic rights. That an animal tries to attain a home for itself, it tries to find a partner for itself so it can continue its lineage, and also to find food. So these three things are animalistic desires. And if this is my only understanding of freedom, then I'm no different to an animal in all reality. And human beings are a higher being than animals. You know, we're higher in our level of intellect, in our level of desires, in many different forms. So therefore we should wish for a kind of freedom that means black and white can get equal jobs, man and woman can get equal pay, that it's not just about me, the individual, securing something for myself, but humanity as a whole is able to secure something for itself. That if I want to be different in my society, I can be different in my society, because I don't need to be like everyone. God created me to be unique. So I should have that right to be unique. This was one other angle of Imam Hussein's freedom. And finally, the third point of Imam Hussain alayhi salam Allah's freedom was that the person who decides to lead us as a community, this is the third course of why Imam Hussain, went to a revolution. That the people who are the leaders of a community, be that political leaders, be that social activists, be that the parents in a family, be that the leaders in school, the teachers and the principals, and be that the religious preachers, that we must be able to hold them accountable. Because what Imam Hussain believed in is that the highest person in the community is the lowest person in the community, in the sense that they are the most humble servant of the community. That the president and the scholars and all these people should not be elected so that they can take from us. They should be elected because they have so much to give to us. They are not there to become rich through our hard work. They are there to work hard so that we can live well. They are there to establish justice and peace and prosperity. Because in truth, when we look in the life of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, there were many people who used to drink, and there were many people who used to be unjust, and there were many different types of tyrants, but Imam Hussain did not rise against them. Imam Hussain rose against Yazid, who was the political leader of the Muslim world. And Yazid was showing attributes that are not befitting of a leader. Because if the leader is a bad person, then everybody will justify their own bad deeds and say, well, if the best of us is the worst of us, then why should we try to be good? So Imam Hussain alayhi salam's ultimate goal was to change the hierarchy, to say that the person at the top should be the best person, so the people at the bottom will also want to be the best people. So Imam called us to find the best people as the leaders in our community, because if they are good people, they will lead us to good. And if they are bad people, they will destroy us with them, and they will take everything from us without giving anything back. From this point of view, we can learn that the course of Imam Hussain alayhi salam was to change the political field and to make it one that calls for justice, for peace and prosperity, and for noble values. And that when our leaders call for corruption and call for war and call for injustice, and they thrive over oppression, then we must stand and make a change in that political field, and we must bring about a social justice system, inshallah. Ultimately, Imam Hussain alayhi salam had a stand, and we can never overlook that stand, because it was the slogan, it was the battle cry of Imam Hussain. It was Hayhat min al-dhilla, never will I be humiliated. Because Imam Hussain stood dignified and stood for dignity, and he fell with dignity. Imam Hussain made a bold statement when he was asked, it's so much easier for you to just accept Yazid as the leader. Your brother made peace with the previous Khalifa, why don't you make peace with this Khalifa? Imam Hussain said that Yazid is manifesting his indignity and his lack of respect for human dignity. Whereas his father, at least behind, at least in public, tried to show the people that he was a dignified person. And to some extent, he respected people's dignity. But Yazid has no respect for human dignity. So Imam Hussain says, he names the values of Yazid. He says Yazid is a womanizer. Now someone may turn around and say, how is being a womanizer, a bad thing? It's because Yazid didn't care about people's feelings. A womanizer is a person who only cares about his feelings. He goes from one woman to another woman to another woman to another woman without caring whether he hurts her or not, because he just wants to take his satisfaction. He has no respect for a woman's dignity. So Imam Hussain says this is a person who, on the most basic level of a human relationship between man and woman, has no respect for another person's dignity. And he has no respect for what people will think of him also. For therefore, he is not a dignified person. And me, Hussain, I am dignified. I came from a house that believed in human dignity. I came from the best and the most dignified house. Then he makes another statement. He says, someone like me can never put my hand in the hand of someone like him. I stand for dignity while Yazid steps on dignity. I am dignified. I do not care if you are a Muslim or a non-Muslim. I care to see that you live a life of dignity. If your dignity has been harmed, then I am the one who will support you and call for your dignity to be brought back to you and for you. So therefore, Imam Hussain alayhi salamullah's ultimate step was for the dignity of mankind. Because when we have dignity, then we have everything. And when we lose dignity, no amount of wealth and no amount of knowledge can ever bring back that dignity which we have lost through our action or through support, through oppression. On this point, I would like to just give one example. And I know it may be a very sensitive topic, but a woman who has been abused by someone who overpowers her, and I mean rape, there is no amount of medical help that can make her feel better about what she felt of that kind of oppression, because somebody forcefully took the dignity of her. And here we're talking about her dignity with regards to herself. Doesn't matter what everybody else thinks, but she has a dignity for herself, and somebody took that off her by force. Her whole life she will forever remember that moment, and she will forever be hurt. Likewise, every human being can have their dignity stolen away from them, and this is sad when we see this happen. And when we as a society allow this to happen and do not do anything towards bringing back justice and dignity to the people, then we are no different to Yazid, because Yazid was raping the dignity of humanity. He did not have any respect for the elderly. He did not have respect for women. He did not have respect for humanity as a whole. And Imam Hussain said, I do not like to see anybody's dignity taken away from them. So Imam Hussain was the friend of those who had their dignity forced from them. And he died so that he can give them dignity back. And Imam Hussain alayhi salamullah truly stood for dignity. And to this very day, we find that whoever loves Imam Hussain alayhi salamullah and comes to understand Imam Hussain, you will find that they are always standing for dignity. They will never be silent when there is oppression, because oppression reminds them of what Imam Hussain had to suffer. And they understand and they realize that if we remain silent, then we are also killing Imam Hussain the same way those people killed Imam Hussain in Karbala. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we thank Him sincerely for giving us a symbol such as Imam Hussain alayhi salamullah, who taught us the value of dignity and the principles of honor, and taught us that dignity is the right of every human being, and we must treasure it for us and also for them.